Hi, I'm Smile, and today we're talking about fear. I think fear is the friend that we all ignore because this friend is trying to tell us something that is probably uncomfortable, maybe some truths that we don't want to hear. This friend is trying to protect us because let's understand what a friend is, right? Friends are there to tell you things when nobody else is. They're there to guide you, protect you, even things that you can share with them that you might not be able to share with other people, right? And that is how I see fear. And I think fear gets a bad reputation because we talk about it as if it's not the one primary instinct that helped us evolve and survive, and as if it's not one of the basic human emotions that makes us human, even. And we all just try to push this friend away and ghost this friend and just ignore this friend. And the reason I'm saying fear is your friend because it's very important to understand, nowadays all we hear is be fearless, and as if fear is this really bad thing for you, but it's not. And everything in a context can be good, in a context can be bad. And there are rational fears, there are irrational fears. When it comes to rational fear, my problem with the advice of be fearless is that you're never going to be fearless. If you get become fearless, you are not human. For how can you become fearless? Because it's talking in a very absolute way, it's talking in a very overgeneralized way, this advice. And if you listen to this advice and you don't listen to your fear, right? What if your fear is trying to tell you something about yourself? What if this fear is trying to protect you from something, and instead of listening to this primary instinct that could be trying to protect you, you listen to this advice of being fearless and you stay ignorant? Instead of doing that, why don't we just listen to our instincts? And how do you listen? Because this instinct doesn't talk in words, right? It talks in a feeling, and that feeling makes you uncomfortable, and that is why you ignore it. Bichara, don't do that to your friend. Yeah, don't do that to your friend. If what's a true friend? Somebody who gives it to you straight, right? Somebody who's going to say things that are uncomfortable, somebody who's going to want to guide you. So I think it's all about perspective. Why are we looking at fear as if it's such a bad thing? Maybe because we don't know how to deal with it, and maybe because this whole phenomena of being fearless is just confusing you more than guiding you. And so instead of listening to this advice of being fearless, why don't we just try and understand where is this fear coming from? Rather, what is this fear even of to begin with? And where is this fear coming from then? It could be maybe because of a past experience. You've had a past experience which was terrible for you and you feel like something similar is going to happen. It could also be that you find yourself in a situation where you it's very new to you, and because our minds are always wanting us to be in things that are familiar to it, it gets a little jittery when things are not familiar. So to understand where that fear is coming from, you're going to have to look at it differently. And then how I like to do it is I like to understand, okay, maybe this thing is new for me and that is why I feel this jittery feeling. And I almost thank it by telling it that thank you. You're trying to protect me. Like how you would thank a friend, how you would be grateful to a friend that thank you. I love the intention that you're coming from. You're trying to protect me, but this is something I have to do because I've decided to do it. So don't ignore this friend that is actually trying to sometimes tell you something, and sometimes it's being a little paranoid and being a little over dramatic. So that's for you to choose, because when there is a friend, the friend can give you an advice, the friend can give you a guidance, but the friend does not live your life, and that power is yours. So why would you not use that advice? Why would you not use that guidance from somebody that has your best interests? Tell me that. I do. Okay, I do like the advice of डर के आगे जीत है. But again, things like get over your fears and be fearless is something that I'm absolutely not in line with, because that is something that is trying to overgeneralize and be on the surface. That advice just doesn't work for me. For me, what works is getting to know myself more and more, and understanding your fears will bring you closer to yourself. And I think once we start changing our perspective towards fear and seeing it as a friend, then we can finally start to understand, this fear of rejection? Is this fear of being misunderstood? Is this fear of the unknown? What is the fear of? And then you can decide for yourself whether this fear is good or bad. Because in context, it can be a good fear, it can be a bad fear. And nothing has to be this overgeneralized view of, for example, be fearless. I mean, how do you be fearless? Just by ignoring it, just by not listening to your instinct? Or just, you can't stay an ignorant person for the rest of your life. It's going to come back to you. It's going to, if you don't listen to the whispers, it's going to scream. And that's what happens with so many people, where they don't listen to that instinct, that primary instinct that's trying to tell them something, and they ignore it. And I'm fearless, I don't fear anything, I don't care about anything. And eventually, as the years go by, they find themselves in situations where they're getting, uh, maybe some panic attack, maybe getting just overwhelmed with the situation. Of course, coming to irrational fears, which turn to phobias, that is something that you must visit a professional for, because no amount of Instagram or social media advice is going to help you in that. That is something that happens because of a childhood trauma mostly. And there are mostly, it doesn't even have a reason. And what a therapist can do is they can provide you with techniques of distraction. There are these 5 4 3 2 1 technique that you must have heard of. If you don't know, it's okay. And what that basically is, I'll just quickly say, it's about 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can uh, hear, and 1 thing that you can taste. Basically, coming back to your senses and coming back to the moment and not letting that fear override you. There are other things also, like listening to soothing music and basically just trying to bring yourself back to the present moment, while deep breathing is also another good distraction technique. But all of that your therapist can tell you, all of that a professional can help you with. And the good news is that phobias are very much treatable. So, even if it's an irrational fear, I would still say that it's a friend. It's a friend that has been misunderstood. It's a friend that has not gotten its release, has not gotten its due. And it has somehow made its way and now has become your worst enemy. So instead of letting that fear control you, there are places you can go to get help. There are things that you can do. So if it is an irrational fear that you have, if it is a phobia that you have, good news, it's treatable. Please get some help. But for everything else, the rational fears of life, we all have them. There is not a single person that I know who is not having some kind of fear. It's not something to run away from. Let me know if this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I got a mic. I'm so excited to use it like this. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it till it's comfortable. If I feel like my hands are getting restricted, because I love talking with my hands, I will pin it up. But right now, like, this feels good.